they caught him. 1. Police collected and analyzed all DNA recovered from the crime scene. 2. His DNA was either only unknown or among only unknown DNA recovered that did not belong to people who were known to have visited the residence. 3. Once they had one, or several, DNA profiles that were from unknown persons, they ran it through an FBI DNA database. 4. A local gas station came forward with video of every car driving by at the time of the crime, from very close to the crime scene. 5. A white Hyundai was seen on the video and police asked the public to look for it. 6. The DNA comes back with not a direct hit but a family member hit. They analyzed the family tree of the family member. They hit on the current suspect in custody due to his attending a school 10 minutes away from the crime scene and owning a white Hyundai Elantra. 7. Once they had a suspect, they subpoenaed his cell phone data and discovered he'd often been in the same areas as the victims in the weeks leading up to the crime. 8. They likely got his specific DNA and matched it 100%. Reddit wiped Bryan Kohberger's account, but not before the Wayback Machine got a snapshot. Thank you. Know if it's worth it? It wasn't. Figures. She's too famous to be showing the goods. Her of OnlyFans is lame. Even the ladies' stuff. Send like she's going to show something. Complete scam. She's a liar and rip-off. It's the biggest scam going. She lies in descriptions and you see nothing. I'm dumb and dropped over $100 for Instagram pics. AA. Why? Think he got nailed for a whole bunch of child pa. Gross. Pretty girl, but she is absolutely awful in ring and one mic. She is hands down one of the most beautiful women on the planet. Beyond breathtaking. Bryan Kohberger left behind a knife sheath on the bed of one of his victims. 2 days after Christmas, investigators took the garbage from the parents' house to see if the DNA matched. You can read it yourself in the probable cause affidavit. He left DNA on the scene, was viewed by one of the surviving roommates, whose room was on the second floor, not the first as repeatedly indicated previously. Had driven around the house area a dozen times before at night or in early morning, and is caught on repeated security cams driving to Moscow, by the house, and then back to Pullman. I think that's what surprised me the most after reading the affidavit. We were led to believe the other roommates were asleep downstairs as this was all going on, but we know now that at least one of them was awake and witnessed the male intruder leaving the house. Now what I am dying to know is why didn't he kill her too? Thank God he didn't, but if she saw him, that's a huge liability. She saw him doesn't mean he saw her. I wonder he was using a flashlight or something and she had her night sight and his eyes did not adjust to the night. You know how you walk into a dark room after you leave a room that is lit up, it takes a minute to adjust. The dog began barking loud enough that it was picked up on a neighbor's camera. He assumed he was running out of time. I think he was feeling rushed too. He just killed 4. The dog was barking, he had been there 19 minutes already. I think he wanted to get the hell out of there. I wonder though, since he had been stalking that particular house for 3 months prior, he had to have known the number of residents and their routines. I find it really odd that for his first, and last, murder he would choose to kill multiple people and do so in a way that risked the rest of the household calling 911. That is, of course, unless his narcissism told him he could do it. I'm wondering if he intended to murder E and X though. X ordered DoorDash at minutes before the murders, so she likely awake. The other girls were in the same bed, so he might have only intended on killing one of the girls not taking X, and possibly E being awake, or that the 2 girls were in the same room into account. I don't know. Dude is clearly psycho either way. It's crazy that right there. I imagine stabbing one person who is fighting back is hard enough without rousing 5 other adults in the house. What crazy crime. This makes me think he had one of the victims in mind and had to deal with whatever the rest of the circumstances were. But we don't know if it was their dog or the neighbor's dog from what I've been reading. The affidavit seems to suggest that it was Kaylee's dog that was heard. There was a dog in Kaylee's room when Moscow police officers initially responded. The dog belonged to Goncalves and her ex-boyfriend Jack Dewey. I found out from my interview with Jack Ducour on November 13, 2022 that he and Goncalves shared the dog. DM stated she originally went to sleep in her bedroom on the southeast side of the sea floor. DM stated she was awoken at approximately 4:00 a.m. by what she stated sounded like Goncalves playing with her dog in one of the upstairs bedrooms, which were located on the 3rd floor. A security camera located at 1112 King Road, a residence area immediately to the northwest of 1122 King Road, picked up distorted audio of what sounded like voices or a whimper followed by a loud thud. A dog can also be heard barking numerous times starting at 4:17 a.m. The security camera is less than 50 feet from the west wall of Kernadle's bedroom. I've posted on here before about my prison time. I had several cellmates who had behaved and worked their custody levels down over the years who killers. There are lots of conversations in prison regarding our crimes. In some of those conversations, I was told about the rush these guys would get from committing a murder. It doesn't surprise me that he didn't kill this other person. Assuming he saw them. He was probably so high/on the rush that he didn't want to interrupt the feelings in his head. It's interesting that to get to the other 2 bedrooms he would have had to pass Dee's first though. And from the affidavit I read that she only locked her door after seeing the perp. Maybe he thought initially that she was in a downstairs bedroom. Then as you say had the rush going when he did see her and chose not to kill her. Either that or he targeted X and M, who were the only residents of the 2nd and 3rd floors of the house at that time. He was staying over and K had already moved away and was back only temporarily. Yes. Those guys described the rush as a heroin high with a perfect amount of meth. While I haven't used those 2 drugs, I have used many others in the past. There are a lot of things that go on during a drug high. I can't imagine what a mind contemplates during a murder. What I do know is that the cellmates who described these feelings to me back aren't very animated and lost in their personal descriptions of what they were feeling and thinking. I believe they were almost reminiscing of their murder and the feelings that they were experiencing. I'm sure we will find out more information that may explain his actions and what occurred that evening/morning and maybe why he did not kill that person. Remember, sometimes there is no clear-cut explanation for why murders do what they do. Anyway, thank you for the interest in my past experiences. I appreciate it and feel free to ask me anything. While I am not an expert, I can give you real-life examples to the best of my ability. Studying PhD in criminal psychology and posted on Reddit a few months back asking for ex-cons to take surveys about how they felt while they committed their crimes to help with his thesis. Some of the questions in his survey are outright disturbing. Holy. What steps did you take prior to locating the victim or target? Detail your thoughts and feelings. Why did you choose that victim over others? Before making your move, how did you approach the victim or target? Detail what you were thinking or feeling. What was the first move you made to accomplish your goal? Detail any thoughts or feelings at this point. How did you leave the scene? Did you struggle with or fight the victim? So he was potentially stalking the house since June time if we believe the phone records? Kohberger opened that cell phone account using a Pennsylvania address on June 23, 2022. And he moved to Washington sometime in August 2022. On August 21, 22, he was stopped on a major street in Moscow just 2 minutes after he'd sat at the victim's house for 61 minutes. It's possible he visited the area before August, or his move to Washington in August was his first time in the area. 61 minutes? That's very good info for the prosecution. Yep. It's the stopping there for an hour that's the key piece of evidence. Anybody can drive by a house any number of times, but how many people stop for an hour at a house, and why do they do so? His defense will have a very hard time trying to explain why he was parked for 61 minutes in front of the victim's house. Yep. And within a couple of weeks after he moved to the area. Targeting a house with so many people or a single person who had a significant number of roommates seems odd for a first crime. He's 28. I'm not aware of the average age offender's normal why start committing their crimes, but feel he must have killed before and felt confident he could overpower so many people. We were led to believe they were asleep. I was like, what? She was awake? Cops played this to perfection. Didn't want him to know there was a witness. Manley made serious moves, and good ones too. Right. Which makes me second guess if he actually saw her or not. Maybe he actually didn't, and the law enforcement kept that close to his chest so he wouldn't know. Great thinking. Maybe Leos were fearing he might go after her if he knew that she had seen him. Exactly. What goes out in public isn't necessarily all the police have. Sometimes it is leaked on purpose, especially while a suspect is not yet arrested. Thankfully they acted quickly,